All right, people. It only took, solid 2 minutes, but hey, we finally got there, baby. We finally got there. What's going on, people? It's Friday. We made it through the work week. I hope you guys all had a blessed week. But it's time for some football, baby. And what is better than college football on a September weekend? Nothing better than that. Nothing better than that. So, hey, first of all, though, I want to remind Clemson fans, make sure to wear your gray. Wear your gray against Louisiana Tech tomorrow. For those of you that are lucky enough to be going to the game, unfortunately, I will not be gracing Memorial Stadium with my presence tomorrow. But it'll be fun to be at the game, but yeah, it just didn't work out. Just didn't quite work out. But hey, I want to dive into a new segment for this stream. Cue the transition, Tim. Tim, come on, come on, Tim. It's not going, Tim. What do you mean it's not gonna work? What am I paying you for? Oh, I'm not paying you. All right then. All right, Apex Predators of the Reef. So this is my top 10. This isn't what the AP polls say. This isn't what the coaches poll says. This is what I say the top 10 teams in all of college football right now. And right off the bat, we got Alabama. There's no way around it. Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach of all time. And there's no reason that he shouldn't be number one in the country right now. Because, yeah, sure. They struggled against, a Texas team. But honestly, maybe Texas isn't as bad as we think. It's quite possible. So the Texas team that I remember is that Texas team that was, recording their coaches on the buses, getting chewed out after losing a road game, saying, "You guys don't really care about football. If you don't care about it, get the heck out of here." That's the Texas that I remember. But even though it was still a competitive game, though, still a competitive game. I think that Alabama still has a lot in the tank. Remember, new receivers. They're getting two of their speedy receivers back in the coming couple weeks. Probably, I think maybe this week. I'm not exactly sure when they're going to be returning, but they're going to get two of their guys back. So that's going to be very good for them. But then, in addition to that, they're going to have Bryce Young, Heisman-winning quarterback, have time to gel with the new receiver group getting in there against people. Their two top receivers, Jameson Williams and John Mechie, both went pro. Both tore their ACLs in the playoffs, and that's why they lost against Georgia. They most likely lost. The difference between the SEC championship team and the national championship Alabama team was their 2,000-yard receivers. But then we're gonna flip the script right over to Georgia number 2. Now you might be saying, I don't know. I think Georgia 1, Georgia 2. I don't know. I need to see more from Georgia because they have relatively easy schedule so far. People don't realize how bad Oregon is. Oregon was absolutely gutted this offseason as a program, both on the player level and the coaching staff level. They were both just gutted, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it happened, but you move on to the next year and you keep moving on, keep getting those good years year after year and building it back up. That's how you build the program back up. But Georgia, so I take that game against Oregon as a grain of salt. Yes, Oregon's one of the better Pac-12 teams, but is the Pac-12 really that good this year? That's what I don't quite know. So Georgia, and then I want to see more from the offense too. Now I know you're saying, this is the Stetson Bennett show. This is the year that he shines. I know, but I want to see some more from the offense still. They didn't look too great last week. They looked good, but I think they looked better against Oregon than they did last week. And it may have been, it's a tune-up game. Oh, they're not as jacked up. Adrenaline's not pumping as much as it is in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, downtown Georgia. Everybody's tuning in to watch it. It may not be the case. But who knows? So I'd put Georgia second, and there's still plenty of time. Georgia could jump it up, but I think they're the second best team in the country right now. And third, Michigan. Because Michigan finally made the quarterback change. They had the older quarterback, incumbent starter that, he'd been there, he'd been around the program, he got them to the bowl game last year, and didn't quite perform as well against Georgia as he would have liked, but that Georgia team last year was nasty. They had so many guys on defense going in the NFL, but didn't do as well. And then they had the young gun, the young hotshot in J.J. McCarthy. And I think that Harbaugh really took this offseason to kind of take a step back and analyze that, hey, maybe I need to go with the young hotshot quarterback. And, he gave him 2 games, Cade McNamara played, I believe his name's Cade. Cade McNamara, if I'm butchering it, I'm sorry, played the first game. And then J.J. McCarthy played against Hawaii. And the offense just looked different with McCarthy in there. Yes, I know it was Hawaii. Yes, I know. But it just looked different. It just looked great. I just think that they have the potential to really kind of light it up with a more dynamic, younger, faster, mobile quarterback in there, rather than, a more traditional guy where they were good last year, but their offense was primarily, handed off to Haskins, handed off to Blake Corum, and just every once in a while hit him with a little play action, long ball over the top, and it worked. But I just don't quite know if that was sustainable. As we saw later in the season, teams started to kind of catch on. Yes, they cleaned up in the Big Ten, but out of conference, not so much. But new quarterback, I got Michigan number 3. Number 4, USC. And I'll be honest with the USC. I do not believe in their defense at all. I hope their defense proves me wrong. This may be a call to action for all the defensive guys out there at USC. Prove me wrong. Lock things down and just perform at a high level. But, you guys are playing a very respectable Fresno State team. So lock it down. I want them under 20 points. But the reason USC's number 4 is that their defense is so bad is that their offense is so good. They have a very offensive-minded head coach in Lincoln Riley, one of the best in the country, best, brightest, youngest minds in college football. They got the stellar quarterback. And then, to top it all off, they got the stud receiver in Jordan Addison. Not to mention, they got a dude at running back that came down from Oregon. They have a absolutely loaded offense. And I think their offense can keep with anybody. Their offense can put up 50 points in a game like that. My issue is their offense. If their offense puts up 50, is their defense going to give up 56? That's what I don't know. And that's the question they're going to have to answer when they get later into the season, when they get into those games where they're playing, the Arizona State, they're playing the Utah, they're playing the Oregon. Because they did pretty well against Stanford. Stanford, David Shaw puts a very well-coached team on the field week in and week out. Yes, I know there's a little bit of a talent gap, but he puts a very well-coached team in there. So I believe in him. And then, number 5, I got Clemson, good old Clemson. But I need to see more from the offense. Defense will clean things up. I know it was a rough game against Furman, but, Dabo's been barking on them all week. Wes has been barking on them all week. The defense knows they got something to prove this week. Last week's performance wasn't quite ideal. Wasn't a championship level caliber defense last week, and they know that. But I need more consistency from our offense. I needed the offense, the old kind of Clemson offense, the Taj Boyd, Deshaun Watson, the Trevor Lawrence type offenses, where it just seemed like points with the chunk yardage plays were there. You knew that we were good for 3 or 4 30-plus yard plays a game. And it seems like now with our current offense, we're just, crossing our fingers to get 1 or 2. We need the explosive plays to be there. And then from there, just make things happen. Make things happen on offense. Be creative. Get the ball to your playmakers. The fundamentals of offense, not the fundamentals of, hey, let's just power offense, run the ball down the middle, but the fundamentals of the kind of the new school offense of, spread the ball around. Get the ball to your most athletic guys in space and let them go to work. I will say, we do not run a lot of wide receiver screens like we used to. We used to just hammer wide receiver screens nonstop, and we just get little 5-yard chunk plays here and there, 4 or 5-yard chunk plays, and those plays would add up. You get a 4-yard gain on first down. all of a sudden you look on 2nd and 6, the entire playbook's open then. And also they know, hey, they threw a screen, they got some decent yardage. Maybe we need to start up, kind of press them, and next thing you know, use our blazing speed to get by them, put the burners on. So that's what we need. And also we just need the older guys in the receiver room to set up, because there's a lot of hype around. There's a lot of hype around, you know, the young guys, the freshmen that, you know, Adam Randall coming back at torn ACL. But I feel like there's more hype around him than there's been in a freshman receiver at Clemson in a very long time. You know, maybe since, you know, Justin Ross had a lot of hype, but Justin Ross earned that. He played some games. Adam Randall hasn't played a down. He didn't play in the spring game. You know, he can get to practice over the summaries of his knee. He hasn't played it down, and I see more about him from the Clemson media, and the pressure is on him to be, you know, kind of the next guy. You know, Bo Collins needs a contemporary. Bo Collins needs another guy that we can put on the boundary and say, hey, he can get it or Bo can get it. We're going to make things happen with the two of them. But we'll see what happens with that. And then number 6, Ohio State. I like Ohio State. Good quarterback. I think they have the best receiver in the country in Smith-Njigba, but I just need to see more, you know, consistency from them. Because, I mean, the Notre Dame game felt like they kind of got pushed around a little bit. Yes, they did well. They did well. They won, but that still bugs me that, you know, against Utah, against Notre Dame, they win both those games. Yeah, but I just felt like they didn't dominate and just enforce their will on the line of scrimmage like I would have expected an Ohio State team to do. And then Kentucky. You know, I'm big on Kentucky in the SEC. I like their quarterback. Their quarterback, sneaky pick to be, you know, 2nd round, maybe even, you know, around, you know, pick 25 quarterback in the NFL draft. Transfer from Penn State. Penn State fans are probably kicking themselves. They let him transfer out, but good quarterback. And Stoops there he's been putting some solid teams together. I mean, ever since, you know, I'm trying to think back. I mean, when Benny Snell was there, Lynn Bowen Jr. was there. They've had some solid teams together there. And I think they have a real shot, to potentially upset a Georgia or Alabama and make it to the SEC championship game. I think they do. It's not an easy schedule. It's not an easy schedule by any means. Not an easy schedule. I mean, we can just go down the list of who they have to play. I mean, they got to play Ole Miss, Tennessee, Georgia, and even that game against Louisville. It could be a respectable game. Louisville's going to have a very, very knowledgeable quarterback at that point. Malik Cunningham's going to have more experience on him, and I wouldn't rule it out. But I mean, just within SEC, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi. Those are 3 competitive games, very tough games that are going to be kind of toss-ups. They're going to come in as probably the favorite, but it's still going to be like a 6-point spread, maybe even a 3.5-point spread. I don't quite know. So that's going to be close, but I like them. Then number 8, Oklahoma. Oklahoma surprised me. I thought I would have put Oklahoma into the category with Oregon where, you know, their head coach unexpectedly left, and their program was just kind of treading water, you know, trying to stay afloat. And they've come out absolutely swinging for the fences. I mean, everything they hit, it just seems to be like a home run. And I like that. So I like that. I like what Brent's doing. Their defense looks fast, nimble, and very competitive to win the Big 12. That Texas-Oklahoma game, if Quinn Ewers can make it back for the Texas-Oklahoma game, it's going to be a very interesting game to watch. One that I will be watching the Red River rivalry in depth if that's the case. But Oklahoma's still got to get there. I like their quarterback situation. You know, they're spreading the ball around. Defense is looking fast. And, you know, they have some games that they are going to be a little bit of doozies, but they can get there. And I just believe in their coaching staff. You know, a lot of the guys, you know, Clemson ties. You know, we got Brent. We got a bunch of other guys there. I like them. Number 9, Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy puts together another solid team. The mullet. Trust in the mullet, baby. Go Pokes, but trust in the mullet. Very senior quarterback. I think Wallace this is his 5th year of eligibility, I think he exercises his pandemic year. I'm not entirely sure, but he's either a senior or a 5th-year senior at this point. He's been around the block. He's been their starter for a while. He's seen a lot of games, a lot of different looks, and now he's a real opportunity to make things happen. And number 10, I had to put Florida State. I had to. I called it before the beginning of the season. Florida State's a completely different team. The amount of transfers they got in there, amount of new guys they got in there, they're looking different. They're looking fast, mobile, agile, ready to just go out there and just absolutely smoke some guys on the football field. Now, they have a real test tonight. Against Louisville. This is their first ACC conference game. They're playing, like I said before, Malik Cunningham, a veteran quarterback, been around the block. They're not going to be able to throw very many defensive looks at him that are going to confuse him. He's going to be able to see where the blitz is coming, what's happening. But just because, that doesn't mean you can't confuse him. I mean, they got the transfer from, I forget where, but they had that one guy on the defensive line from some JUCO, maybe Delaware, but he transferred to Florida State, and there was a question whether he was going to be able to live up to it, live up to Florida State standards as being a defensive end. I'm looking it up right now. Yeah. Jared Verse. Jared Verse, Albany. A lot of questions if this is going to translate to Power 5 football, big boy football. And he absolutely just made things happen. He's made things happen there. There's no way around it. The Kentucky-Florida State game. I think Florida State's going to beat Louisville, but I don't think they play each other. Let's see here. No, I don't think that Kentucky and Florida State play each other. Kentucky played Florida last week, and then you have playing a different Kentucky team in Louisville this week for Florida State. But I think Florida State's going to handle business. Big game tonight for them. Big game. I think they handle business. And, Jared Verse, it'd be quite impressive for this young man if he could go from being, a player at Albany to going to a Power 5 program, being a first-round pick, even going top 20. Hey, that'd be quite the journey for the young man. I hope he does it. Because, I want to see these guys get paid. I want to see them get paid. I want to see them all go in the first round, get these, $5 million signing bonuses. But hey, that's my top 10 this week. No, it's definitely going to change by the end of the year. But this is my top 10 for this week. And obviously next week might be a different order of 10. Might be new team. Somebody might lose. An Oklahoma State, Florida State, somebody in the back end there loses this weekend. I don't know if they're going to make the top 10 next week. But hey, we'll see. And I also want to dive into a segment of who's up and who's down this week. On the up, no, the first thing that's going to catch your eyes, you're going to see Texas right there. And you're like, wait, whoa. Texas just lost to Alabama. They just lost their starting quarterback. What do you mean that they're up? Their stock's up? Well, what I got to say about that is that Texas was able to compete with Alabama. Think about that for a second. They got to know at this point they have the talent. They have the talent to compete with anybody in the country. They just need to believe in themselves, and they need to dial in for the game. There's so many games, and even in the past Texas with Tom Herman as the head coach, they would play up to, they almost beat that 2019 LSU team. They have almost beat Oklahoma just about every year. Those games seem to come down to the wire, which is crazy. But then they go play, a Kansas State, an Iowa State, even Kansas last year, and they just seem to lose focus. They just don't dial in for those games. A game where they should be blowing this team out of the water. There's some similar athleticism, but they should be blowing this team out of the water, and it just doesn't happen. But we'll see if they can change that. If Stark can change that this year, if he can. It's one of those deals where college football is better when Texas is good. When USC, Texas, Michigan, Ohio State, and I'll even throw Miami in there. Miami, when those teams are good, college football is just better. It's just more interesting. There's no way around it. When those teams are better, college football is just better as a whole. And obviously, University of Kentucky, I was just saying how great they were. I think they have a real opportunity to compete for the conference championship. It's really going to come down to that game as Georgia. If they can go in there, take care of business against Georgia, stop the run, make them beat you through the air, because they have the best tight end room in the country. There's no way around it. They have the best tight end room in the country. But force them to throw the ball to them. I know they have a good tight end room, but I want to see them when they all have to catch the ball. Eliminate Brock Bowers, the number one option. Can Darnell Washington catch it? What's the deal with what was the other guy? What was the other young man's name? He sat out last year because he just had some stuff going on in his life and needed to sit out, but he's one of the highest rated tight end recruits of all time, transferred from LSU. Gilbert something. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. But make him catch the ball too and see what happens. I mean, if you can make Georgia potentially eliminate the run, so they have to go shotgun. They have to run more of a pro-style offense than hit you with, they're going to pound it up the middle and play action. I want to see that consistently. Yes, they can do it sometimes. Stetson Bennett has shown he can do a pro-style offense and still beat you, but can he do it for an entire game rather than just one or two series in a row? That's what I don't quite know yet, and we're going to find out. And Florida State, I think that Florida State Clemson game is going to be massive, absolutely massive when that comes around. Much harder game than we originally anticipated, but hey, that's the fun part. The fun part is in the competition. And Kansas, people don't realize, if Kansas matched their win total last season, they've won their first two games. They won their first two games. That's a big win for them. And it wasn't like this was kind of unexpected. They had a good running back, but at the same time, they always find ways to lose. But they have a massive test this week in Florida. Or, excuse me, not in Florida. In Houston. I mean, we look at this. They beat up on Tennessee Tech. They should have beat up on Tennessee Tech. I mean, they're a Power 5 school. They should. But then West Virginia, they put up 55 points. I don't know the last time a Kansas team put up 55 points. And they got a real guy in Puka Williams. Puka Williams, a little bit on the shorter side. He's hovering right around that 6 foot mark. He's probably more like 5'11", 5'10", realistically, but he's hovering right around there. But he's an absolute stud. He could compete with anybody else in the country in the running back spot. And he